And thank you everyone for your patience. We're now at a quorum, so we're going to go ahead and call to order the Wednesday, October 15, 2025 Truckee Meadow, how about Western Regional Water Commission meeting. And we'll start out with roll call, please.
Paul Anderson.
Here.
Alexis Hill.
Here.
Clara Andriola. Naomi Durr.
Here.
Mary Luz Garcia.
Here.
Miguel Martinez.
Here.
Susan Severd. Kathleen Taylor. Diane Vanderwell.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you very much. And we'll move on to Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Martinez, would you mind leading us in pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. And moving on to item number 3, public comment. Do we have any public comment?
I have none.
Anyone in the room wishing to comment? Great, then what we'll do is we'll move on to number 4, approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimously. And move on to approval of minutes from the August 20th, 2025 meeting of the Western Regional Water Commission.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. And now we'll move on to Dr. Perry. Number 6, a presentation on climatology. Thank you, sir, for being here, and thank you for your patience with us this morning.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It's wonderful to be here. It's great to see some rain outside and some snow on the mountains, and know that we all welcome that this time of year. I've got the clicker, so should I?
Is it on? On the numbers.
Second time.
Okay.
Now I can just advance.
I think you have, is it on screen share?
Yeah, it's on.
I mean, you have to bring up the PowerPoint.
It's sharing the screen. Is it not advanced? What advanced that slide? There we go.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah. So my name's Baker Perry, and I'm. I think I can still call myself the new state climatologist. This is starting my 2nd year. I'm also a professor of climatology at the University of Nevada, Reno, and it's really been fantastic to be here in Reno and Nevada and to learn more about this part of the world. I'm going to just give you a bit of background on where I came from. Some of my formative years as a child were spent at 13,000 feet in the Andes of Bolivia. You can't guess who I am in this photo right here. I went to some of 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade in rural Bolivia, and we took family outings up as high as 18,000 feet on the peak that let's see, now I can't, this pointer's not going on the screen, but up as, as high as those glaciers. And so this was incredibly formative for me. My family roots were all in North Carolina. Both my parents were from the mountains of North Carolina. And so I finished the rest of my schooling and did all of my college and graduate school work in North Carolina as well. And that's where I really began to focus more on the meteorology and climatology of snowfall, of precipitation and instrumentation in particular. So I had all kinds of things set up at our family farm, including vertically pointing radar, weighing precipitation gauges, manual observations, weather balloons, other sorts of weather stations. And this ended up being a really important test bed for me to then see what we might take to other places.
So wait a minute, how old were you in this period?
Okay, so this was post PhD. So this
Let me clarify here.
Yeah, this is I fast forwarded. So after I finished my PhD, I really got into the instrumentation.
I got
you. But I will say that as a young kid, whenever snow was in the forecast, I was camping out, and much to my mother's consternation, because I had a cheaper tent one of these days. One of these storms, and it actually collapsed on me due to heavy snow. So I've always been interested in monitoring, and I got sent to the principal's office multiple times in high school for trying to listen to my NOAA weather radio during class. So anyway, but this is starting out in my research career, these slides right here. And then that led me back to Bolivia and the Andes, where of course we're seeing huge changes in glaciers and snow and ice. This is one glacier that we took students to in 1999 in the upper left. And by the time I went back in 2016, we're talking hundreds of feet of ice in this lake. Glacier Lake is the name of it, that had already disappeared as the glacier retreated. So it has huge implications for water resources. And in these communities downstream, we began to realize there was a major void in just basic understanding of climatological processes, especially around precipitation. And so we started installing stations up in some of these higher locations above 16,000, 17,000 feet. This is one of the highest permanent inhabitants in the world. 16,700 feet, his alpaca farm, and had a nice little island in the middle of his peat bog wetland there that we were able to put a weather station on. And then we got some funding from the National Weather Service, from the National Science Foundation, NSF, and put in the highest precipitation station in the world. This is going on 11 years now. We have an incredible data record from near the top of the Calcaya ice cap, 18,500 feet. Our Peruvian partners at the Peruvian National Meteorology and Hydrology Institute are now, they've been managing this station for the past 4 or 5 years. And so it's something we hope we can continue to work on. So I've been doing this work in the Andes when I got an unexpected call from National Geographic Society to join an expedition to Mount Everest in 2019. And I had not really been looking to expand out of the Andes, and I'd been to Nepal once before, but have plenty to do just in North Carolina and the Andes. But the invitation from National Geographic, it's hard to turn down, and the opportunity to work with just other top scientists. And so I accepted that and co-led the meteorology team that installed a network of weather stations on Mount Everest. And so why Mount Everest? Well, again, the reason National Geographic and our other partners were very interested is water. We fundamentally don't understand all the processes driving the change that we're seeing in the high mountains around the world. So this is a water security issue, and these, I mean, you all know this. I mean, of course, just living here, just how important the snow melt is in sustaining the communities downstream. Same thing in the Himalaya, but even more of that is provided by melt from the glaciers, from the glacier ice. And then the other side of that coin, of course, is just the flood hazard. As the glaciers break up and we get lakes that form literally on top of the glaciers or next to the glaciers, and we have avalanche activity and rockfall, and we have heavy precipitation events, we have more rain falling as opposed to snow up in these areas, that can trigger some pretty massive flooding downstream. And so that was the other major motivation for going here. But before we went to Mount Everest, there was literally one station above about 19,645 feet in the entire world. Okay, in the entire world. This is despite the fact this is where the bulk of the non-polar ice is found, above these elevations. So in the Himalaya, the Karakoram, Hindu Kush, what we call high mountain Asia, and of course in the Andes, we knew more about the weather on Mars, weather and climate on Mars, than we did at the highest elevations of our own planet. So that, again, was a motivation. And so on Everest, we installed this network of 5 weather stations from the Sherpa community of Forsay all the way up to just below the summit. This is on the south side of Everest, and I continue to serve as the PI, the principal investigator, managing that network. We're hopeful that next year we'll be able to formally pass this over to the government of Nepal and our partners at Tribhuvan University there. But since 2019, I've been going back just about every year, and this is a photo from our installation in 2019 at the Bishop. Sorry, at the left is on the balcony. On the right is our 22 installation at the Bishop Rock, just below the summit. This is featured widely in the Bulletin of the American Meteorological Society and other scientific publications. I was back last year. I only had to go to base camp. We were able to send our Nepali colleague and partner up to the higher stations, and so that was kind of, I have to say, nice not to have to go up to base camp. I went to do ice wall. This is at our base camp station. And I will point out that just last week, just over a week ago, this station recorded a near world record in 12-hour liquid equivalent snowfall. We got 3.62 inches of liquid equivalent snow, that's melted equivalent, in this weighing precipitation gauge in 12 hours. Okay, so that's equivalent to about 36, 3 feet of snow in 12 hours, which, you can come close to that around here, but we're pulling the data. Blue Canyon, which is the highest quality ASOS station kind of in the Sierra, so far from what we can tell is only at about 3 inches, their maximum 12-hour liquid equivalent. So this is in rare air, but again, we don't have enough observations. There's plenty of places, probably here in the Sierra, probably in the Himalaya, that receive more than this. But this made headlines around the world because there were some trackers on the other side, on the Chinese side, that were trapped. There's about 1,000 people trapped in this. But we're seeing data that we just never knew about, think would be possible. And so that's one of the exciting things about this network. It has huge implications, of course, for modeling, for how we make future projections of water resource availability, extreme events, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a little bit about Everest. And earlier this year, I was on Aconcagua, which is the highest peak in Argentina and the highest peak in the Americas outside of Asia. And we worked with a number of organizations, including the Regional Department of Irrigation and the Snow and Ice Unit from Argentina. And we installed a network of weather stations from as low as 13,943 all the way up to the summit. And again, 2 of those stations have comprehensive precipitation sensors. And so this is a network, again, that's going to provide just some really important information for water resource planning in this part of the Andes, because it's incredibly dry here. There's so much of the water that's coming from the glaciers and, of course, the snow up here as well. So that's a little bit about what I was up to this year. And then I'm Nevada State climatologist. That's 20% of my role. So in some states, that's a full-time job. But here, that's just the reality of where we are. So I do what I can. And we're in the Department of Geography and the Mackey School of Earth Sciences and Engineering, which is in the College of Science. And our primary responsibilities are to conduct research, Nevada's weather and climate. We connect people with information. We do some public outreach and education, and try to translate science to make it usable. So I do go out and give presentations. I engage with the media, and probably most importantly, we produce quarterly climate reports for the state and monthly drought updates and outlooks. So here's just a quick view of our most recent quarterly climate report that covered June, July, August 2025. Love to add whoever wants to be on our listserv to receive these. You can send me an email. There's a sign up on our website too, but if you send me an email, make sure you get on the list. And our monthly drought reports and outlooks are triggered if at least 50% of a county in the state is in drought designation. Okay, so ever since I started for the past year, we've been doing these reports. Okay, because as you can see in the top left right there, just about the entire state has some drought designation, abnormally dry to drought. But I think we can, we have twice monthly calls with the National Weather Service and the Drought Monitor authors to discuss the current state. And I think next week we're going to be able to make a stronger case that we can start paring back, start improving some of those categories with the recent precipitation that we've been having. So the water year is certainly off to a start. And then we provide outlooks of just from the National Weather Service maps, the monthly and seasonal forecasts, pass that along. Reservoir storage information, incorporate a lot of SNOTEL observations, just because we don't have a state mesonet that the state climate office manages. So yeah, that's certainly something I'd like to see more opportunities for, is to look at enhancing and expanding some of the observational networks. But until then, we're relying on SNOTEL and whatever other National Weather Service and federal agencies that we have. And I did want to just briefly highlight this report that my predecessor, Steph McAfee, and some of the folks at the Western Regional Climate Center prepared, which was a final report evaluating Nevada's drought monitoring network to improve drought early warning and response. And one of the key quotes I pulled from that is that a common and repetitive theme heard from partners was a need for more spatially and elevationally distributed precipitation gauges that measure frozen precipitation. Okay, so we're talking about weighing precipitation gauges, just like the one I showed you that we have at Everest Base Camp, that can measure liquid and solid precipitation and that are very high quality. So that is something I'm trying to, again, set up. We've got one. This is one I moved from North Carolina in Little Valley. This UNR owns the Whitetail Forest, and it's an incredible laboratory just between Tahoe and the Washoe Valley. So we've got one precipitation station there, and then at the Little Valley Research Station, which is at 5,500 feet, a little bit lower, this is in the main Washoe Valley. We've got a microrain radar that allows us to see the vertical structure of the storms, and also can calculate the melting layer, the snow level in real time as well. And that's an operation. That's something that we almost have worked out to provide in real time to our partners, National Weather Service and others. And then we've got some other sophisticated precipitation instrumentation there to really look at the processes here, especially with spillover, how much precipitation actually spills over the crest, and how does that vary from storm to storm? What are the microphysical characteristics of that? So that's some local research that I'm trying to spin up. And again, hopefully we can begin to expand and enhance some of the observational networks across the state as well. And then the last thing I'll just make a pitch for is that we are looking for more citizen science precipitation observers. There's a program called the Community Collaborative Rain, Hail, and Snow Network, COCORAS, and we're in the midst of a fall recruitment drive right now to try to get more observers from across the state, especially in rural and higher elevation areas. And so that's something we're working on, that our office is working on with the National Weather Service, and I'm the state coordinator now for COCORAS, and there's a lot of empty spaces in Nevada. So that's something I'll just make a pitch, and I can send out some more information on if people are interested, or if you can help spread the word through your networks, that would be incredibly helpful. So thank you very much. I'm happy to entertain any questions or stay engaged, connected with email or phone. Happy to meet, follow up as well, and really appreciate you inviting me to come. So.
Thank you, Dr. Perry. We appreciate that. And what we'll do is we'll open it up to the board for questions.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, so I think I think this is a great group to make that ask, because we represent people throughout Washoe County, or we know them. And I immediately thought of two, a retired geology professor that lives way out in Red Rock, and then another one another scientist that lives over near the border of Nevada and California, going up toward Bordertown 395 area, but also probably others. And so we could probably recruit them. The other thing I wanted to say is when I had two water jobs, as one as state water planner and one as at the flood, and I often struggled to get data for the public in an understandable format about our status as one of the fastest warming cities throughout all that time. And finally, they have now Climate Central, which is really, I think, a citizen run group or a nonprofit type group that tracks heat and throughout the country. I don't know if they've expanded international, but I don't know. I've often called up to Western Regional Climate Center. I've called to various people, and everyone, there was no one that sort of was tracking this data or information that could share it with us, a reliable source. Or they just, it wasn't part of their mission, or they didn't do it, or they didn't have funding to do it, or it just wasn't something they cared about. I mean, have you thought about that, and does your office plan to be involved in something like that, or do you understand my question?
Well, that's something I actually didn't mention that I could have, is that my deputy state climatologist, Tom Albright, he led the Reno heat mapping campaign.
Yeah, which I participated, our family, I think a lot of people drove around and measured the temperature.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the first things I did. I'd been in town 3 days, and Tom recruited me to drive around too in Sparks. But that is something that certainly our office is involved with. We hosted the Northern Nevada Heat Workshop in June of this year on campus. And so Tom has some of those data.
I just wondered if they were compiled somewhere, or we had a statement on where we are, or any analysis of why we are, like in Reno, technically the fastest warming. So I had aggregated information from Colorado and other bureaus around the country that spoke, this is years ago, that spoke to why Sierras and why Reno were in that top number.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be great to get, I mean, I was just on TV yesterday, and we were talking about trees. We were talking about the heat here in Reno and how the trees help. And I just, but it's just me talking as an elected official. It's not, I don't have a professional paper or something to offer people to back that up. So
I can tell you there's a paper in the works, and I've been brought on kind of late in this process, but it's actually this week, it's on my to-do list. This came out of work that Western Regional Climate Center, Tom Albright, my predecessor, Steph McAfee, started specifically looking at these trends, Reno, and comparing that to Boca Reservoir, a rural area, and so that's in the works right now. So hopefully that'll get submitted in the near future and be published, and then we can have a more formal record.
Because I think all of us, and I think we have the head of Tumwa here, I think all of us want to understand this more. And is it really true? And why is it true? And Las Vegas is the second fastest, but there are many degrees behind us, like half the increase we've experienced here in Reno. And we want to, we need to understand it and implement it into our planning.
Yeah, and I mean, from what I know and from what kind of we're seeing so far, the bulk of that, of course, is being driven just by growth.
But I mean,
land use change.
That's the important piece, I think, is just, going to concrete. And I just think that the more we can get the information out, and that would support different types of planning and development with different techniques in these developments, whether it's grassy roofs or solar or, LID infiltration, or how we handle stormwater, or any of these things. It would be great to kind of have the information and be able to both do better planning and have that integrated into the planning community, the development community, so we could start mitigating it and do better. But without, front of a center or information or some scientific support, it's hard to just say, we should do this without the data backing it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's a modeler at DRI, John Mejia, he and his students, and he presented this work at the heat workshop in June. That is fascinating. Just and they're able to do controlled model experiments showing which impacts have the greatest net benefit.
Okay.
And it depends on what if we're trying to reduce the overall temperature of the urban area, that's one thing. If you're trying to reduce sense of just what we feel and the heat of the day, of course, trees and shade are important for that. And so it depends on what metric. And so I think he could be a really interesting person to maybe invite for saying.
Okay, thank you.
With the changes of federal funding just across the board, what are you concerned about your work? And our hope for is this type of work something that's still supported by the federal government?
No, there's some real concerns. Our work in Argentina, our expedition was originally funded by a grant from the US State Department. And 3 days before we left, it was frozen.
Yeah.
And they eventually unfrozen, but we only got some of that funding. But we have a diverse funding source. We have private sector partners that provided. We had $150,000 worth of instrumentation that was donated by our private sector partners for the expedition. National Geographic was a partner on Aconcagua too. So we're still able to run things. With the big concern is about future proposals. I competed for our internal slot. UNR gets one slot to submit to this major research instrumentation solicitation from the National Science Foundation. And so I had written an internal proposal for that competition to develop the top one, we call it next generation integrated weather station, to really focus on the snowiest, coldest, windiest places in the world. And we were going to submit this year, but then they canceled the competition. And so we are hopeful it's going to happen next year. But so there's this huge uncertainty with the federal funding. We are starting to look more at other private foundations. We've just received a grant to host a high elevation climate science workshop at our UNR Lake Tahoe campus in June. That's going to bring international experts from around the world here. And that was through a private foundation. So it's really uncertain. Federal level.
And is the state climatology position funded through the general fund at the state, or is it?
It's through the state, through our appropriation to UNR.
Okay.
That's how we're funded.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I would just like to ask one. So in the relatively short time that you've been in this position, if you were to drill down to a local level here, observations, data that you've seen so far that you would see between river flows, upstream storage, things like that you think would be valuable or informative for us?
Yeah, so you're talking specifically about the Truckee
Correct.
Basin. Yeah, I mean, I think again, just SNOTEL is a good source, especially for the SWE, but there's some deficiencies with the precipitation measurements. This is 1970s technology that they're still using. And so higher quality precipitation observations, especially higher up, in that 7 to 9, 10,000 foot range. Those are very hard to come by. So important because the differences, as you all know, are just so stark between what's falling lower down. And gauges do pretty well measuring rain. Okay, when we're talking about snow, it's a different it's much more complicated. So higher quality precipitation, and especially, and also not just the amount of precipitation, but what type is falling. So we have these sensors called dysdrometers that are present weather sensors that can tell us whether it's rain or snow that's falling at a given time period, and that is so important. Flooding, especially talking about rain on snow events. So those in my view, those are the two areas that we can improve.
Thank you very much.
I have one more follow-up. Are you, I know over at the, since you mentioned the flood, over at the flood authority, which a number of us serve on, they have a monitoring program for all the USGS gauges, and flood is it's a multi funded gauge network. When I was there, we moved the person into their shop that's funded out of there, but I didn't know if you have much contact with them.
Yes, they hired a new.
I met him. We met him with Miguel at the Wadsworth Bridge meeting.
Yeah, I'm forgetting the name.
Yeah.
His name, but he came from Montana. He's a really good, experienced guy. We're certainly in touch, and I've shared some perspectives with him. He asks advice on best practices, and so he's trying to upgrade their gauges to more wave precip, and so that's a really promising. There's progress being made.
Good.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, I think that's it. Actually, let me check with Member Garcia.
No questions for me. Great presentation.
All right. Well, Dr. Perry, thank you very much for your time. Thank you again for your patience. We truly appreciate the information you provided.
No, thank you so much for the invitation, and don't hesitate to reach out if you have other questions or if I can help anything else moving.
I just subscribed to your newsletter.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to item number 7. Discussion, possible direction to staff regarding the approval of the fiscal year 2025 WRWC financial statements and audit opinion. And it looks like Zach Macy and Ricky.
Thank you, Chairman. Good to see everybody this morning. Members of the commission, you can write in for the record. I will give Dr. Perry a minute to transition out of our presenter seat and have Zach to come up and join us. So as you all know, as a local government agency, we're required. Okay. Oh, there we go. We're required to have an external audit of our financial statements every year. And the board selected Shetler Macy and Associates last October to engage in our audit for fiscal year 25. And Zeth Macy is here to present that audit. Thank you.
Well, that's official.
We got a digital copy.
All right. Well, hopefully some of you have a chance to at least glance over the financial statements. Thought it went well again this year. Smooth, no hitches. Thanks to Kim and their teams. So I'm gonna, if you want to flip through it, here on page 1, go past the table of contents. This is the independent auditor's report. It's kind of the main report to the audit. At the top here, you'll see the opinions. Second paragraph. This really here is, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the financial position. This essentially is what's known as a clean opinion for the commission. If we then turn a couple pages over to the management's discussion and analysis, a few financial highlights. Commission's government-wide net position by 473,000 to 3.06 million, and the general fund reported an increased fund balance of 464,000 to 3.07 million. General revenues increased by nearly 259,000 or 14% from the prior year, while expenses increased by 85,000 or 5% from the prior year. Flip a couple of pages to economic factors. The last paragraph I thought I'd read. Unrestricted net position as of June 30th, 2025 was 3.06 million, whereas operating expenses in the June 30th, 2026 budget are only 563,000 or 16% of the total budget. All other budgeted expenses related to projects can be managed in a way that aligns with remaining resources and expected future revenues. And if I flip to the back, there's one more report. Independent auditor report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance. During our audit, we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control that we consider to be a material weakness. And results of our testing disclose no instances of non-compliance or other matters that are required to be reported. And on the final page, for current year statute compliance, the commission complied with all significant statutory constraints on its financial administration during the year. And for audit recommendations, we do not note any financial weaknesses of magnitude to justify inclusion within our report. So overall, very clean audit report. Up to questions, I guess, if you have any.
Kim, did you want to add anything before we open the questions?
No, I think the audit speaks for itself, but I also wanted to recognize Susan Deason. She is the Washoe County Financial Manager, and this audit would look this clean without your help. So I just wanted to recognize her, and if there's any questions that you have for her, she's also available.
First, I'm just no questions. I just want to say thank you to the leadership, the auditors, everyone that was involved in this. It's important that we can show that we are good financial stewards, and I think this proves that right there. Yes, Member Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I agree, especially as a granting organization, you can get in some troubles with audits. Even large scale organizations like Washoe County, we had an issue recently. So I just commend you. I commend the Washoe County team. So thank you for your hard work on this. And so good job, team.
All right. I think if that's it, we're ready. In this one, we need to take a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, then we'll move on to number 9. Action, presentation, discussion, possible approval of pass-through funding of 60. Sorry, thank you very much. Golly, trying to speed us along too quickly. How about item number 8? Action, discussion, possible designation of Shetler Macy and Associates LLC as external auditors for fiscal year 2026 WRWC financial statement audit, and authorizing the chair to execute engagement letter and direct staff to file the required documents with the state of Nevada. Ms. Rigdon.
Thank you, Chairman. Members of the Commission, Commissioner, for the record, I know some of these are mouthfuls, these items to read, but for our limited law and legal purposes, we just try to be as detailed as possible. Well, per statute, we have to designate an auditor for the fiscal year 26 financial statement review. And we designate that each year after we have the existing audit complete. That has to be submitted to the state by March 30th each year, so we have time to look at that. Shetler Macy and Associates has already provided an engagement letter that's in your board packet, item 8A, for your review. They've been performing our audits since 2009, and they're consistently performing well. Their ongoing relationship with us creates an efficient process. Mr. Macy is wonderful to work with, and he performs a timely and professional audit and knows our Washoe County staff very well, which is very helpful. So staff is recommending to designate Shetler Macy and Associates as our auditors for fiscal year 2020. Thank you, Chairman.
I'll open it up to discussion.
I actually am really in favor of moving forward. I think that it speaks a lot to having the experience for the organization. And I think the additional oversight with Washoe County helps to ensure that, with all due respect, you're doing your job as well. And I think that that's a really unique position. You don't usually have that kind of situation, right? I mean, auditors are making sure Washoe County is doing its job. Washoe County also has some statutory compliance requirements and standards they have to follow. So I'm going to support this, and when the chair is ready, I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Any other questions, comments?
Just, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do we ever just make sure that have competitive pricing, and can we do that for the next round if we haven't done it this round? I know it's a professional contract, but
Yeah, that's a good
through the
question.
state.
So what we've done is we've reviewed, in 2009, we engaged Shepherd Mason Associates. They came in at half the cost of the other bidders proposals. And they have raised their rates minimally over the years, and probably in a lane that would be cost of living increase with most of the firms. But we have not done a formal solicitation to do a current increase.
So I would just say, okay, moving forward, it's just maybe that's something we do next year, just to make sure that we're getting the best price.
I'm willing to amend the motion to include accepting this for this year, and to look at the timeliness, because there is a plan when you're going out to bid, that I'll amend my motion to include based on the timeliness that needs to be met, because there's statutory filing requirements as well that it go out for bid.
Okay, I'll second that. Sure.
Okay, so then what we're doing is approving for this coming year and then requesting that go to RFP following.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, if you remember, Andrea, would you put that into an actual formal motion?
You bet. And I didn't have coffee, so here we go. So I move, don't look at the screen, Chair.
I'll just.
Let me see if I can follow this in an eloquent. So I'll move to approve the fiscal year 2025 WRWC financial statements. No, that's not right. I was gonna say, is that financial statements? Okay, here we go.
I'm sorry.
Try again. Move to designate Shetler, Macy and Associates LLC as the WRWC's external auditors for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026. And then authorize the chair to execute the related engagement letter and direct staff to report the designation to the state of Nevada by the statutory deadline, and include an RFP for the following year in order to meet the timeliness as required.
Lovely. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And it passes unanimously. Now we can move on to item number 9. Action, presentation, discussion, possible approval of pass-through funding of $60,000 from the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection 604B Clean Water Act to the Truckee River Foundation for a professional services agreement with Idlewild Riverbank Repair Project, 30% design. And we're good.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the Commission, Birgit Whittegren for the record. And what we're bringing before you is a proposal of pass-through funding from the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection. They receive the money from the Environmental Protection Agency, and they receive it every year, and they rotate around the state, the agencies that do water quality planning to receive it. And this year, the WRWC has been selected. So staff then went out and talked to regional stakeholders regarding eligible projects, and one came with one Washoe River. Bless you. Basically looking at restoration work on the Truckee River in Idlewild Park, and the $60,000 would be utilized to create a 30% engineering design for this project. And here to present about the project is Iris J. Pavard, and she is the executive director of One Truckee River. So Iris.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to present today. One Truckee River and Nevada Land Trust coordinated vegetation management planning efforts that started in 2020, with regional discussions taking place focused on improving the riverbank of the Truckee River in Nevada. The effort started a steering committee and a regional technical working group that is active today. Here are agencies and groups that are a part of this regional technical working group or are a stakeholder who we interviewed and is available to me for further input. They include local, state, and federal levels of government. Locally, this includes City of Reno, City of Sparks, Washoe County, and Turkey Meadows Water Authority. The work is focused on the middle urbanized reach of the river from Crystal Peak Park to Vista Narrows, as this map shows. In 2022, working together, we completed a framework vegetation management and restoration plan with tools that you can see on the left and the right that I won't get into in this presentation. And then we moved to an in-depth conditions assessment that was conducted. And from that assessment, a project prioritization tool was developed. From all of that, an online map that the planning agency hosts was created that you can go to access all of this data. And there's also all of the plans and tools on One Truckee River's website, along with a link to this map. So through these 5 years of planning and assessment work, many areas were identified in need of improvement. Recent discussions with City of Reno staff led us to focus on a river stretch at Ottawa Park and requesting support to do more specific planning and design work through the NDEP 304B funding. And thank you for the opportunity to present. This is a really short version. Some of you, I've been able to have the opportunity to do a longer presentation about this work. And for those that I haven't, I really welcome that opportunity in the future.
Thank you. Just real quick question. The previous slide, well, actually, I guess you can even use that one. So all the different colors, could you let us know what the color designations represent?
Yeah, yellow is not good. Yellow and orange, and then purple and blue is pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So,
right,
and they're polygons, you know, so they really went out there inch by inch. And so if you go onto this link, you can, you know, zoom in or out and get to the specific polygon for each section of the river in this area.
Awesome, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the presentation. When you say go, you're talking specifically about the riverbank, or what did you mean by that?
Yeah, about the riverbank.
The conditions of the riverbank.
Yeah,
The bank or the vegetation on the bank.
the vegetation on the bank, but it does also do erosion was considered, so bare soil, the level of vegetation, and then it also considers social factors. So there's a lot of different ways to use this data, and so cost was also a consideration.
And this section that you're looking at Ottawa Park, is that where folks tube, like they sometimes, I just think if I'm remembering correctly, people can access the river from that parking lot?
They can, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would say in the urban stretch of the river in general, people access the river in a lot of different places. And that one of the biggest problems is that there's not controlled access. So, you know, it's not been designed in a way to say, hey, here's where you go, here's where you don't go. So everyone just goes everywhere. So like what we're doing at Broadhead, that's moving to 90% design and fully funded, we're having a lot of paths so that we have that access for people, but then it's very specific. So, you know, really strong vegetation and then a path, strong vegetation path to really stop people from just going everywhere.
Thank you for the additional.
Is that supplemented by signage at all?
It could be. Yeah.
Is it fenced?
We haven't, no, we haven't considered fencing.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
just thinking about what it reminds me of is like at the ocean with the dunes and they're protecting certain dune areas and then they're making a path. And then they usually put a modest fence, some indicator to the chair's point about don't go here, go there.
Mhm.
So whether it's a simple, not a complex fence, not a fence meant to keep people out, but just to more inform them, this is not where you go.
Yeah, and I feel like I need to double confirm this, but I believe we haven't gone in that direction because it would trigger 408 permits that would have, the design need to go to the Corps of Engineers that adds 2 years and $100,000 at least is what I've been told. So, but that would definitely, let me revisit that conversation with Carson Truckee Water Conservation District.
But I mean, to the chair's point, I mean, are they signed to like go here? That's just a sign saying this is an official trail.
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing that?
We don't have that in the plan currently, but if if we have very structured paths and then strong vegetation on each side, I think it can be visibly, realized. And I think that, we could maybe put a sign on the other side of the path outside of the 14,000 CSF. A lot of things that have been,
Yeah, just something as simple as please stay on the path or something like that, that might even help with that, but yeah, great.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I guess, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just am sad that it's just $60,000. There's so much work to do. That's not gonna
ditto
you very far. But I'm so glad that you're doing it. And so I think this is a great partnership and I just want to commend staff.
Yes,
I was just wondering specifically at Idlewild, what is it the path and the vegetation that you're doing, or is there taking out invasives? I mean, what are you doing there?
Well, that will be determined through the design work. But yeah, in general, there's a lot of tree of heaven,
right,
that limits the native trees from growing. We've observed that. And then there's a lot of places that would be great for people to access, but it's just bare, steep soil when we could put a really beautiful flat boulder, stabilize it, and provide a place for people to enjoy it. So it's really, yeah.
So it's more of an assessment of what needs to be done at Idlewild, this project?
Yes, it's only getting to 30% design, so that will be going into it. But yeah, I would say from our experience so far with Broadhead, it's a lot of the similar challenges throughout the whole urban corridor.
All right, with that, I think we can go ahead and move to a motion if we don't have any other questions.
I would make a motion, Mr. Chair, to approve the pass-through Clean Water Act grant funds from NDEP not to exceed $60,000 to the Truckee River Foundation for the Idlewild Riverbank Repair Project and authorize the program manager to execute the agreement.
Great, we have a second.
And then I have a question, is the Truckee River Foundation, how is that separate from One Truckee River?
We are, One Truckee River was the initiative started in 2013.
Right.
Parallel was Truckee River Foundation was created as a nonprofit.
Okay.
And then we had a prioritized action item to find a long-term home for One Truckee River. And the president of the Truckee River Foundation gave over that organization to One Truckee River.
Okay.
So we didn't need to go through all the work to become another nonprofit.
Yeah, gotcha.
So technically we are Truckee River Foundation now doing business as One Truckee River.
Gotcha. And so that has a separate board, the Truckee River Foundation, or
Truckee River, the only thing Truckee River Foundation does now is One Truckee River. So it's one board.
gotcha.
Thank you, Iris. Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll go to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to number 10, action, discussion, possible direction of staff regarding approval to amend the City of Reno Stormwater Permit Coordinating Committee interlocal agreement budget not to exceed $312,305.57 for fiscal year 2026.
Thank you, Chairman. Members of the Commission, Mary Whitaker for the record. The City of Reno provides substantial staff support to the stormwater crew. Inadvertently, due to a clerical error, an invoice at the end of fiscal year 2025 was not submitted. in the amount of, and I need to read this virtually, $49,805.57. And it left that amount unspent. So staff is requesting to include this amount in fiscal year 26 in that budget, and the amount not to exceed, it would change the budget to make an amount not to exceed $312,305.57. The funding is available in our contingency budget in 2026, and the invoice and the professional services budget are both as attachments in your packet. If you wish to look at that. So I have Chris Pullman here, who has agreed to come. He is a senior engineer at the City of Reno, and he is also the coordinator for the Stormwater Committee, in case you had any questions about these fees. With that.
All right, thank you very much. And we'll open it up. Do we have any questions, comments? All right, we'll move quickly through this one then. Then do we have a motion? Someone willing to?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the amendment of the fiscal year 2026 interlocal agreement with City of Reno to add $49,805.57 for the fiscal year 2025 stormwater management program for administration. Second.
Motion made by member Dewar, second by Hill. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 11, program manager update.
Thank you, Chairman. Members of the commission, Kim Reagan for the record. I'll go through this pretty quickly since we got a little bit of a late start. And I know you're going to want to take at least a 5-minute break before you head to the town hall workshop. So just a quick update. Myself and Director Smith from the Washoe County Community Services Department, Engineering and Capital Projects, we both gave a presentation to the Regional Planning Commission and the Regional Planning Governing Board on the Cold Springs Valley water balance analysis that we're performing. And that was a really wonderful way for us to share with those planning, with the planning agency leadership on what we're doing and why we're doing that analysis. And then as part of this larger project that we're going to be expanding into some of the other closed basins to make sure we understand what, water in, water out balance in those basins. So that was really helpful. Dwayne, Director Smith, did a fantastic job. So also with the wastewater regionalization feasibility study, I just wanted to let you know, I think we last met in August. I reported we had staff meetings in July. In the end of September or mid-September, I also met with many of you public officials to give Raftalis an idea of what the vision is and what you were looking to get out of the feasibility study and the administrative and governance planning that is expected, and a lot of the feedback we received. They've created a few memos that are going to be going out to the working group first for review, and then Raftalis is planning to come and give a presentation on their findings and phase 1A at our November 5th concurrent meeting with both boards. So that meeting is also on a Wednesday at 1:30 in the afternoon. That'll be a really interesting presentation. They'll be presenting all the different agencies' views are, what's important to them, what they think the challenges are, and how they might see this moving forward. So it'll be a really important meeting to attend. Save one more, water reuse symposium. So last March, a few of you came to Tampa with staff to attend the water reuse symposium. It is scheduled for Los Angeles, this year, the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles, March 8th through 11th. And this year they scheduled all the tours that we took last year on Sunday. So that I thought was a great way to start off the conference. So we'll be traveling in on Saturday, do tours on Sunday, and then there's an elected official workshop scheduled for that Tuesday. So if any of the elected officials want to attend with staff, we included that in our budget to pay for your registration and your travel to come to that conference if you're interested and can attend. And that's what I have as far as manager updates. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the director? Ooh, you're getting off easy, Cam.
I know. I don't have any questions, but I do want to commend you and Director Smith for a great presentation. And I know several of us were in that meeting as well. I thought it was really, really helpful to actually differentiate the bigger picture, even though it was one particular area, but differentiate the bigger picture and to also really put it in perspective that there's a bigger plan of this project, of your analysis. So I just want to say this.
I did have a question too on that same presentation. I appreciated it as well. There was a disappointing aspect of it, and that's that we don't have the information at this time, right? And when do you think we will?
That's a great question. We just had a meeting last week with staff to come up with scenarios. So the model's been created and it's been calibrated. And we've been meeting recently to come up with, well, what are the best scenarios that we need to enter and include in the model to calibrate it more, test it, kind of break the model so that we can make sure that we can look at a variety of different growth situations out there. We just had a meeting with Director Smith so that he could help us there. Fantastic. I have to tell you, Director Smith is just an amazing person to work with.
It's amazing.
But he has his GIS staff helping us to look at, well, what could the growth patterns look like out there? So we can say, okay, well, maybe the first step is to, what would full build out potentially look like? And that's so hard to predict, as well as I do that, try to predict what commercial business will end up out there, residential. So we're in the process of looking at what data we have to be able to make those predictions. And then we're going to have 7 scenarios to start. And once we get those scenarios done, then we'll be able to fund some more and move into some of the other.
Now, did we hear from that is a DRI is a reevaluating the USGS analysis? Or, in the 60s, the USGS went out and analyzed all these basins in Nevada. Mm-hmm. But over time, they've updated different ones. But for some reason, I thought I heard recently a different agency is going to take another look at the perennial yield out of these basins.
Oh, interesting. Yes. I think you're talking about the reconnaissance reports that they did with the 50s. Yeah. And they established the perennial yield. My understanding is the last state water plan meeting that I went to, they haven't picked it back up because their staff had left the agency and they were able to continue moving that forward. But the last meeting that we had with them is that the Division of Water Resources was hiring. I thought it was the USGS to select specific basins to reevaluate.
Okay.
I
thought I heard it was something at DRI. I don't know why. Yeah. I'll try to remember. But anyway, okay. Yeah. I just thought that would be good info for you guys in the study that you're doing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been moving forward because of staffing issues.
Got it. Okay.
Anything else for record? Okay, then we'll close that item, move on to number 12, discussion possible direction to staff regarding agenda items and dates for future WRWC meetings. Is there anything that you all would like to see addressed?
Chairman, if I may, real
Yes.
quick, I just wanted to let you know, I normally put this up at the beginning of January, but because of the holiday season and the conference, I wanted to get this on everybody's calendars early enough. So I went ahead and took my best stab at the 2026 meeting outlook. We normally do our tentative budget approval in March, but due to the conference, the Water Reuse Conference in Los Angeles, and vacation schedules for staff, we would like to get the tentative budget approval early in February. So we'll be bringing that to the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission in January to make a recommendation to the Western Regional Commission. So this is our meeting schedule with milestones. We'll still put an Outlook calendar invite for each month to hold spots in case we need to hold a meeting in the interim, but this is what's planned for 2026.
Perfect.
Thank you, Chairman.
Under this item, I just wanted to thank you for having Dr. Perry come. I hope, I had seen a presentation in another venue and I thought this would be so germane to hear both here in Tumwa. So I'm glad that was able to come together. So thank you.
Okay, then we'll move on to item number 13, public comment. Do we have any public comment? Anyone here wishing to speak? All right, we'll close that. Commission comments. Nope. All right. Staff comments.
You have one comment, Chairman. I was just notified by Sonia that for our concurrent meeting on the 5th of November, there is overflow parking available at with Rogers, in case you show up and it's,
And where is that?
that will be here.
No, but we're across the street.
Across the street.
Perfect. I do appreciate a little more parking out front. I noticed that, but yeah, having a concurrent meeting would be nice to have a little extra. Thank you. Any others? And with that, we'll move on to item number 16, adjournment.
Good job, Mr. Chairman.